Good afternoon, everyone. I'm one of three speakers today, and I'm very much welcomed by MassHire Holyoke in partnership with Western New England Law School Center for Social Justice. We will have a lot of information for you at the end of our presentation about how you can sign up for free legal help with your record. What I'm going to do right now is give you a short overview on CORI and sealing and expungement in Massachusetts. And then MassHire will take it away with all of their wonderful things that they offer to the public. So let's proceed. Hopefully you can all see the slides and you feel, I hope, very welcome to ask us questions as we go. Please type them into the Q&A at the bottom of your toolbar, because we just want to protect everybody's name and privacy by not having you on camera while we record the session. But we will take your questions. So let's proceed. What the heck is a CORI? Well, CORI is the official abbreviation for the Massachusetts Official Criminal Record. CORI is the shorthand, of course, for the Massachusetts criminal record. And if you're somebody that has a CORI, there might be a lack of information or misinformation about what you can do about it. And that's something that we're going to talk about right now. The CORI, when you think about doing something about your record, which you're entitled to do, is the best thing to do is to get a copy of it. That's actually the best first step. What is on my CORI? How old is it? Where are the courts where I have a record? What are the charges? Are they felonies or misdemeanors? That's information that is all you're entitled to have. You just need to go and get a copy of your record. And in this program, the CAP program, CAP, which we're going to talk about this afternoon, you can sign up for free help in getting a copy of your CORI. Now, when you do see your record, you're going to be holding a printout in your hand, a paper printout of your adult Massachusetts record. So if you're somebody that has a record in New Hampshire or Rhode Island or New York, some of our neighboring states, that information from another state is not on the Massachusetts record. In fact, the Massachusetts CORI is adult only, as well as Massachusetts only. If you have a juvenile charge or more, those are not on the CORI. So when you go and get your record, hopefully with the assistance of the CAP program, you're going to be looking at your adult Massachusetts record and nothing out of state, nothing federal, nothing juvenile. In addition, if you already are someone who has sealed a charge on your record, you're not going to be able to see the sealed case. And that's one of the beauties we have to talk about today about sealing. Sealing can be very powerful because it hides access to the charge that you have sealed. So you don't even see it. And the only folks that can see sealed records are the police, child protective agencies, and the federal government. Now, why are we here today? Well, many of us are devoted to working on CORI issues and helping people with their CORI because there's a great impact on anyone who has a record. CORI produces a barrier and impact that is negative if you have a record, but there's an even greater impact on communities of color. Individuals and their families are sometimes really hampered and greatly impacted in a disproportionate way with respect to having a CORI. So let me give you some information, because that may be empowering. When you get your record, you or the CAP program are going to be going online to the CORI system that is electronic, and it's the iCORI system, sort of like the word iPhone, if that helps you remember it. And again, if you sign up for the CAP program, which will be free to you, they will help you get a copy of your CORI through this iCORI system. So when you go in and ask for a copy of your record, you're given personal access. It's different from the level of access that an employer has. And Mass Hire will talk about what an employer can see when they do a standard background check if you apply for a job or an apartment. But let's talk right now about the access that you have. You are going to be able to have a greater level of access to your record than most employers have. You're going to be able to see any open charge that you have in court or any open supervision. So if you're somebody that just got out of the House of Correction, but you're on parole or probation, that's considered an open case. If you have a return date in court, like you're supposed to go back to Springfield Court November 18th, that's an open case. You haven't disposed of that case yet. You also can see convictions that you have in Massachusetts. So these are convictions in Massachusetts adult court. You can see any conviction that you have. You can also see non-convictions, which is a very weird term, isn't it? I mean, you all probably could guess with me what a conviction is. You know that you were found guilty or you pled guilty. There's a G symbol for guilty on your record, and then usually a sentence of some kind, like guilty probation or guilty House of Correction or guilty and a fine to pay. So non-convictions are quite different. We have a number of non-convictions in Massachusetts, and it's a way to avoid a guilty. So you might be familiar with having a dismissal on your record. You might have a not guilty on your record. You might have court costs or a nolle pros. There are quite a few kinds of non-convictions that we have. And what you're able to see when you look at your own record is your open matters, convictions, and non-convictions. So let's talk about what you can do about your record. Once you get a copy of it, if there's nothing open, then you can proceed to talk to a lawyer through the CAP program about whether you're eligible to seal or expunge. Now, sealing and expungement are your rights to pursue. No one can interfere with your right to pursue those, but you don't get those things. You don't get sealed unless you're eligible. So I'm going to review really briefly in our overview right now how you can become eligible. I want everybody to take a deep breath if you're someone that has a record who's here today, because sometimes the rules can be difficult and sometimes the rules mean that you're not yet eligible. But I tell you, we will at some point be able to give you a date when you can become eligible. So it's usually just a question of timing. You will be able to pursue sealing or possibly expungement. It may just be a question of time. So if you're wanting a little bit of information, that can be empowering to know what the rules are so that you know when you can get assistance with sealing. So let's proceed. There are two kinds of sealing in Massachusetts. They're very different from each other. One is administrative sealing, which is free, and it's done entirely by mail. We mail in a signed petition, your signature, and probation makes the decision in their Boston office and mails you back their decision letter. Now, in order to have it be this easy, right? You don't have to go to court. There is no court. There's no judge. There's no hearing, and it's free. In order to have it be that simple, it's just done by mail. There is an age factor, which means the case has to be a certain age. And I'll talk about that in the very next slide. The second kind of sealing is quite different. Discretionary sealing is when we go to court and a judge will make a decision in a hearing, and you would come to court with us and you would ask the judge to seal non-convictions. So this is why we had to learn earlier, what is a non-conviction? Because most people's records have a mixture. If you're like most people, you've got both convictions and non-convictions on your record. And if your convictions aren't yet old enough to seal by mail, the administrative route, then we can sometimes go to court with you to seal non-convictions in front of a judge. But the name of this kind of sealing is discretionary. And that word simply means the judge has the ability to listen to both sides and make a decision to allow your sealing or deny it. Again, take a deep breath. If you're denied, you can try again and again. So this system can be sort of confusing in the beginning, but as you learn more, it will empower you to understand what your options are, especially the option to sign up for the CAP program and get assistance. So let's talk now about the first kind of sealing. This is the easy sealing by mail. And the first criteria is to look at your CORI and see if you have anything open. On the right side of every charge on the CORI report, it'll say open or closed. If everything says closed, you can proceed to step 2 and think about whether you're eligible on the age factor. If you have felonies, they need to be 7 years old or older for this kind of sealing by mail. If you have a misdemeanor or a juvenile charge, it needs to be 3 years old or older. So some of you, if you've heard this math before, I need to count to 3 or count to 7, you're probably wondering, well, when do I begin that math? So it begins at the end of the case in the courtroom, which we'll call the disposition date, or your release date from incarceration. If you were never incarcerated for the charge, then you have to use the disposition date and add 3 or add 7. So here's a quick example. Let's say I, as an adult, have a misdemeanor that ended in the courtroom April 1 of 2020. I got probation. I was not put in jail. As you know, probation is community supervision. So we don't have a release date to go think about because I wasn't put in jail for my sentence. We only have a disposition date. Excuse me. The disposition date I mentioned to you, April 1 of 2020. It's a misdemeanor. So we add 3 years from April 1 of 2020, and we get to the eligibility date, April 1, 2023. You can do that math. Every single person on this call can do that math. I'm going to show you a sample CORI in another minute, and it might make a little more sense when you can see what I'm referring to as a disposition date. The last bullet on this slide is that you can't, within that waiting period, you can't have an interrupting conviction. So what do I mean by that? Well, the waiting period in the example was April 1 of 2020, ticking off 3 years, April 1 of 2023. That's easy, but I can't have an interrupting conviction. So if I catch a new conviction, April 1 of 2022, that's right in the middle of my waiting period. The waiting period stops and restarts. And a lot of people don't realize this. So to the extent that you can avoid any interaction with the police, any new arrest, certainly any new conviction, you will have a waiting period that ticks off uninterrupted, and you will be eligible when that waiting period is up. Now, let me just pause and ask Gladys if maybe there are any questions in the Q&A or the chat. Gladys, if you're there.
No, we don't have any questions.
Okay. If anyone wants to ask a question, that's why we're here. So we'll give you our emails. I think Gladys may already have written one email in the chat or the Q&A, and you can write those down in case you want to interact with us later. But I will pause again in another few slides in case there are questions that you have for me. So moving on, court sealing, as you heard, is when the judge makes the decision. So there will be a hearing. You would come to court with us, and there are no waiting periods. So that's excellent. That means there's no age criteria for your charges. And the reason is they are non-convictions. So the system can't penalize you by making you wait on something you weren't convicted of. So if you have dismissals on your record, if you have not guilties or court costs or quaffs that ended in a dismissal, if you have null process, other kinds of non-convictions, take a look at your CORI and add them up. Look at where they are and come to the CAP program, and we can chat with you about whether or not you want to join us in going to court for sealing non-convictions. Just remember, a judge will hear from you and your lawyer and the other side, which is the DA's office, and the judge can say yes or no. So there's nothing automatic about court sealing. Now let's look at a sample record just briefly. This is a sample CORI. Hopefully you can all see it. And if you've never seen a CORI, there's the fancy seals at the top. Your biographical information will be here. I've protected this individual by blacking out that information. And then you'll see what is a horizontal gray bar on your record. And here it says 1 of 8. So that's key information for you when you look at your own record. This means 1 of 8 criminal cases is appearing first under this gray bar. If we scrolled up the report, you'd see another gray bar saying 2 of 8 and 3 of 8, 4 of 8. So the gray bar separates one criminal case from the next. And the newest one is listed first. This person has a disturbing the peace. It's a misdemeanor. It's out of Rentham District Court, and it has a disposition date right before the word dismissed. So it's a non-conviction. It's dismissed. And when you look for your disposition date, it's always going to be first before the disposition abbreviation. So it's typed in date and then the event it corresponds to. Date, event, date, event. So the event is the dismissal. The date the dismissal occurred on is December 11, 2017. So let's do the math together. This case was disposed. It's a non-conviction. There can't be incarceration. There's no conviction. We don't go look for a release date. There is no incarceration. We use the disposition date, which is the dismissal date. Everybody count with me. December 11 of 2017, the date right here, plus 3 because it's a misdemeanor, waiting period of 3 years. This one is eligible to be sealed the easy way by mail, December 11, 2020. Let me show you one more sample CORI. You're obviously going to want to look at your whole CORI and not just the first matter listed. Why? Because what we just looked at was a misdemeanor. What if the next matter is a felony? That's a 7-year waiting period. So you need to look at each charge on your record. But let's look at this second example. This one is 1 of 40. Do you all see that on the gray bar? So this is a longer record. We see these all the time in the clinic. This one starts with a felony as the most recent case. It is an unarmed robbery out of Chelsea. And this also ended with a non-conviction. It's a null pros or nolle prosequi. I don't speak Latin. I apologize. That's my best pronunciation of that term. The date this happened, this is a non-conviction. The date is listed to the left or right before the event it corresponds to. So this null pros occurred November of 2019. It's a felony. We add 7. If you're all helping me out doing the math by yourselves, this one is eligible November 5 of 2026. So this is when the deep breath is helpful. This case is not yet eligible for easy sealing by mail because it's not old enough yet. However, look at the good news. This is a non-conviction. So while the non-conviction has a waiting period that has not finished yet, and it can't go sealed by mail, it is a non-conviction that we could talk with you about whether to go to court or not. The judge can say yes or no, so we need to work with you to present the strongest possible argument to convince the judge to agree to seal. We need your assistance with that. And I have talked to so many people who have very winning arguments. If you open up and share with us, we will go to the mat for you if we have a court hearing, and we will do our best to advocate for you and convince the judge that sealing is the right thing to do for you. Now, let me pause again. Any questions so far?
No, no questions so far.
All right, we have very shy people. I only have 2 more slides and then I'll turn it over to Mass Hire, but I'm going to be here for the rest of our session. So if you do have questions later, I will be here to be able to help with those answers. Now let's just think about why sealing is worth thinking about. Sealing, I already mentioned, hides access to part or all of your record. That means that for most employers, they can't see a sealed case. What's another effect of sealing that's helpful for you? If you seal everything on your CORI, you're going to be able to say, I have no record. And if you're somebody who's 40, 50, 60 years old, you've been carrying around that CORI on your shoulders for decades. Think of how empowering it is for the first time to be able to say on an application for a job, I have no record. Now, I'd like you to be cautious. If you had 5 things on your CORI, for example, and 4 of them were sealed, there's still one matter that might be visible in a background check. So just be careful. If everything gets sealed, you can say, I have no record. And I can't describe the reaction people have given me when we give them that news. It's incredibly empowering. Access to sealed records will always be given to law enforcement. So if you're sealing everything, but you get stopped by the police, you know what I'm going to say, right? Don't say that you have no record because the police can see it. So just don't put yourself in any harm's way situation. The police will always have access, as will child protection services. So that's relevant if you want to work in a daycare center, or if you'd like to adopt or foster a child, or if you're perhaps in probate and family court and you're trying to get visitation or increase custody or something like that, the probate judge will be able to see sealed records in order to keep kids safe. So just be aware there's limited access to sealed records in Massachusetts. For the most part, most employers, Mass Hire will talk about this, most employers cannot see sealed records. So it's worth taking a deep breath, getting your CORI, studying what you have. How old is it? Where is it? What is it? And then come see the CAP program, or while you're getting your CORI with the CAP program, talk to a lawyer about what your options are. I have one more slide, and then I'll be happy to take questions. Expungement is very different from sealing. Some of you may have heard about this. Expungement destroys the information. So that means that if you're eligible, no one can see it because it's permanently deleted from your record. So how do you get expungement? Well, it's pretty narrow. So I don't want to disillusion you, but I just caution you to hear about it, but realize that right now it doesn't fit as many people as we would like. Maybe it fits you, so I'm going to give you the overview. If you are under 21 years of age at the time of the case you want to expunge, the next step beside age is that you can only have a total of 2 criminal cases anywhere. That means New York, federal court, Brockton, Massachusetts, Springfield, Holyoke. No more than 2 criminal cases, and you would have needed to have been under 21 at the time of the crime. If you meet those first 2 hurdles, congratulations, but there's more. So there is a whole list of charges that are excluded from this kind of expungement. This kind of expungement is for young people who have very low-level charges. An example, tagging, which is graffiti, probably trespassing, something very much not a crime against a person, not violence, not drugs, not sex offenses. So there's a huge list of excluded crimes. If you think that you have more than 2 cases or your charges are more serious, we probably can't offer to help you with under 21 expungement. So let me tell you about the second kind of expungement. We call this one Section 100K. It has to do with the name in the statute, so in the law. So this kind of expungement is if there's some gross miscarriage of justice in your case where justice was not served. We might be able to investigate that with you, but where we mostly can help people is if you have something on your record that is no longer a crime. And the famous one is possession of marijuana. So let me tell you what to look for on your CORI. You want to look for POSS, which stands for possession, CL, which stands for class, D as in dog. Possession of a Class D controlled substance is where marijuana usually sits, in the Class D family of controlled substances. If you have that, please sign up to talk to the CAP program. If you have that, come to one of the clinics. Western New England Law School Center for Social Justice is the legal help that is part of the CAP program. And if you have a possession Class D on your record, we are more than likely to be able to get that expunged with you, for you. There's also some other crimes that aren't so common, but disturbing a school assembly is another example of something that's no longer a crime. So I hope I've given you just the briefest of overview that makes some sense. I'm happy to take questions if there are any right now. Why don't you type them into the Q&A? While you're doing that, I just want to indicate to anybody who's on the Zoom right now that if you're a staff member, not somebody with a record, I have a longer training that I am giving to staff for free online. And I will make sure that Gladys puts my email in the chat for you or in the Q&A. Please email me. I'll give you information about a free staff training where I give out a little more information and will help answer your questions for your clients. Now, does anybody who's here have a question before we turn it over to the wonderful speaker from Mass Hire?
I don't see
Nothing?
the question. No.
All right, I'll turn it over and Melinda, take it away, but I'll hang around if there are questions later. Thanks, everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you and welcome everyone. Thank you, Crispin. I learn something new every time I log onto one of these, so it's always great. Thank you for allowing me to sub in for Mona today. She's irreplaceable for sure, but I'm going to do my best. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, everyone. We'll start off with a few slides here. Give me a thumbs up, Crispin, if you see the PowerPoint. Great, thank you. All right, let's go. All right, so as you can see here, these are our support services that we offer here at Mass Hire Holyoke. We offer job application assistance, resume development, and critique. interviewing skills, job matching and job development, career exploration, training opportunities, and assistance obtaining your CORI. And we'll get to that in a few slides from now. We'll have more information as to how to go about that. Okay, moving right along. We have 6 tips for finding employment with a CORI. So the tips include number 1, to prepare all of your materials before you begin your job search. So, in my opinion, and maybe in some of yours as well, I feel like preparation is key to success. So, give yourself that time in preparation to get your resume ready, your cover letter, references, and have 2 forms of identification ready in case it's requested. You want to target your industry. There'll be a slide a little bit later that shows industries that are receptive to hiring individuals with a CORI as opposed to those who are less receptive. You also want to be knowledgeable about your CORI. Like Crispin was saying, you want to have that copy and seek legal advice as necessary. Number 4 is a great one that people often overlook, which is to clean up your social media. People don't really think about that. They don't even remember that they have an account sometimes, especially if it was during a time where you weren't sure how to work your settings. There are a lot of privacy settings that you can navigate to make your profiles private. So if you need to seek assistance from a family member or somebody to help you through that, that's a great tip, because any kind of inappropriate pictures or posts could be could be a negative factor with employers. Number 5, you want to learn what resources are available to you. So here at Mass Hire, we have training opportunities, a webinar that explains all the grants that are available as well. The Work Opportunity Tax Credit, which is the WOTC, federal bonding program, etc. And then lastly, number 6, you want to reach out to local organizations to start building a support network. So of course, we hope that you come see us at Mass Hire Holyoke. We have a reentry and recovery team that specializes in these needs, but there's also other agencies that, for one, is AISS, which you see listed here on the slide. That stands for All Inclusive Support Services. They're located in Springfield, but there's many, many others. And you'll see a slide coming up with our contact, and I'm going to also show you our website so that you can see exactly how to contact us, and we can assist you in connecting you with other support services as needed. Okay, so here we are finding employment with a criminal record. So this is where you are seeing industries that are receptive as opposed to being less receptive to hiring individuals with a CORI. So as you can see, there are constructions and trades, retail, hospitality, and food services, automotive industries, small family-owned enterprises, temporary agencies, warehouses and manufacturing, and of course, human service and nonprofit agencies. Those are all your industries that are more receptive to hiring people with a criminal background. On the opposing side are your less receptive industries. That includes health and medical fields, state and federal agencies, nursing homes, assisted living facilities, public schools, childcare facilities, religious organizations, and then police and correction departments. Several of these include working with people that are considered vulnerable populations, which is why they are listed there. Okay, ban the box. It never ceases to amaze me month after month with the classes that we offer here at Mass Hire, the amount of people that aren't aware of this. But employers cannot ask about a criminal record on an initial written job application. They can, however, be asked once you are in that interview. But this is still a really great thing because it allows you to potentially get your foot in the door for an interview without that prejudgment of having to answer those questions on an application. So that's wonderful. I hope that that is a pleasant surprise for for all of you. And background checks. So employers can only inquire about your CORI after obtaining your written signature. They cannot run your CORI without it. So that's also very important to know. You need to authorize that. And as far as what employers can see, Crispin covered a lot of this, but as a review, they can see the standard access is open cases, misdemeanor convictions less than 5 years, and felony convictions less than 10 years. What they cannot see include non-convictions, misdemeanor convictions older than 5 years, felony convictions older than 10 years, juvenile cases, sealed cases, and out-of-state or federal records. This is a very important list to know. Of course, here in the asterisk section, you'll see that term vulnerable populations, which, as you've heard already, is very important to be aware of if you are applying for those types of jobs. The 30-second drill, this is something that we can certainly help you with on a one-to-one basis. It's something that we talk about during our classes here at Mass Hire Holyoke, but again, we can work with you one-on-one and help you to practice what you would say if you needed to disclose your criminal record during an interview. This is often the most feared part of preparation. You just don't know where to start, and oftentimes by not preparing ahead of time, that's where our customers tend to spiral and those nerves get the best of you. And oftentimes people end up saying way more than they really needed to say simply because they weren't prepared or just the nerves kicked in. So these are some important tips to keep in mind in preparing a 30-second drill ahead of time. You want to make sure that you're maintaining eye contact. You want to be direct, be sincere, try to be calm. Easier said than done, I'm sure. But it's very important as far as all of these things will help in having confidence in yourself. But like I said before, the preparation alone is really what's going to help you to feel more confident. So practice, practice, practice. Once you know what you're going to say in 30 seconds or less, and you practice it often before you even walk in the door and sit down for that interview, the better you're going to feel. The do nots. Do not retry your case. This isn't the time to go over, fairness or what exactly all the details were. You don't want to retry or go through your specific cases. Okay. Of course, you don't want to become angry or defensive. Accountability goes a long way. So anger or defensiveness is will bring about the exact opposite of that. So you want to stay clear of that. And you also don't want to make yourself appear as though you're the victim. Okay. Again, this is something that's much easier said than done, I'm sure, but we can sit with you and really help you come up with something to say in your interviews if you are disclosing something about your criminal record. Okay, so here is our slide about our CORI Assistance Program, of course, in partnership with the Center for Social Justice. If you would like, you can go ahead and take a picture or focus in on this QR code, and it will take you directly to our webpage where you can sign up to get a free copy of your CORI. You will need to fill out some information, and I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like in a moment. But you will receive a free copy. Again, you have to have a Mass ID or driver's license. That's one of the things that can slow you down in this process. So having either one of those is very important. If you have one, but it's expired, we've been able to help people even though it's expired because that number stays with you. And so we've been able to help a lot of people, even if it's expired. So don't let that stop you. Okay, and then we have another slide here that shows our contact information. So if you'd like to write that information down or take a picture of it, go right ahead. There's a QR code once again. And I'm going to be able to show you our webpage and exactly how to navigate all of this because I know it's a lot of information today. So I'm going to stop share for a sec, and then I'm going to open up the website and show you exactly how to proceed if you'd like to sign up. Okay, get the other. Any questions while I'm getting this website ready?
There's nothing in the chat or in a QA
Okay,
bar. No.
all right. Let's head on to our website here, and I'm going to start right from the beginning. That way, in case you didn't scan those codes, you'll know exactly what to do. Does everyone can somebody give me a thumbs up if you see the Mass Hire site? Perfect. Thank you, Crispin. All right, so this is the landing page. This is the home page for Mass Hire Holyoke. And what you want to do is if you hover your mouse over specialized services, you can go ahead down to reentry and recovery services, which is what I'm going to click on. But if you want to go directly to the CORI assistance, you can navigate over to the left and click here. And I'm going to show you this page too, because this was one of the QR codes that was shown in the presentation. So this is our main reentry and recovery page where it shows all the different services that we provide. And then here are our contact information for the different departments, I guess you could, not departments, but I guess different programs within our program. So we've got general inquiries would go to Mona. Anything related to ATR, Access to Recovery program, would come straight to me, Melinda. And then the Recovery Ready Workplace Initiative, you can contact Ramona directly with this information here. To get to the CORI Assistance Program, again, you could have done that right from that first page, but it is listed over here to the left as well. So if I click this button, it's going to take you to the request a copy of your CORI here page. And here's the request form. Before I click that and show you what it looks like, I just want to scroll down a bit because we have another webinar coming up on December 13th. So if you'd like to, or if you know somebody who would like to register, the register button is right here. So please send anybody who might be interested in this information our way. But here we go. Here's the CORI request form. You're going to notice there are several things to type into. Anything with a red asterisk you must do, otherwise you won't see a finish button at the end. So you want to take your time and really navigate this and make sure you're entering information anywhere you see a red star. So the first form is actually our registration form to become a customer. If you're not already, if you continue to scroll down, that's where you're going to see the authorization. So this gives us the okay to go ahead and proceed and order a copy of the CORI on your behalf. I keep scrolling down. There's just some reading here, email, phone number, signature. Again, anything with a red star. If it does not have a red star, feel free to skip it. Okay. There's just a lot of signatures and check boxes. It's long to look at it in this way, but it really doesn't take that long to do. And if you're struggling with this or if something is preventing you from submitting it, you can always reach out to any of the contacts that you saw on the previous page. Okay. And like I said, once you have completed the entire thing, you'll see a finish button. That's the final step. You have to click that finish button in order for us to receive the request. Okay. Are there any questions?
I don't see questions right now.
Okay. Quiet group.
Okay, so anything else, Crispin?
Well, I want to thank the presenters and anyone else who anybody who's attending today. CAP is a free program that's super valuable. There's not as many services in Western Mass as we would
Mm.
probably like to balance off with Eastern Mass. And so, if you know people that need to get connected for free legal help and a free CORI, please give them the CAP information you got today. If you somehow forget all the phone numbers and barcodes that you heard today, you can always just Google Mass Hire Holyoke or Western New England Law School Center for Social Justice. And absolutely, the people on this presentation are here because we care about getting you help for what you have in your future. So I'm thankful to be included today. And you may also see some advertisements in the future about CORI events that we sometimes run generally in the Springfield area. All credit goes to Western New England and Mass Hire, but periodically there's an event where you can sign up and come on in and talk to somebody that same day. So just there's a lot of help in the CORI area in Western Mass now that didn't used to be there. So hopefully you all took some notes. In the chat are quite a few of our emails, phone numbers. There's a way to get help if you need it. So I welcome everybody to take advantage and wish you all the best in your future.
Thank you
Thank you,
for
everyone.
joining us today. I share the contact information in the chat, and our phone number at the Center for Social Justice is 413-796-2101. Thank you for being here, and see you next time.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.